I've had these Clark's Desert boots for a while now, and I just don't wear them anymore because the sole has gotten pretty gross, and I think that's kind of making them a little uncomfortable. Otherwise, the upper is still in pretty good condition, and they're good shoes overall. So I'm going to see if I can come up with something to make them a little better. I want to put a leather sole on here. So the first step is to remove the old crepe sole. And I'm going at these stitches because I want to try to just see if I can preserve the footbed on there rather than trying to add everything. All right, so trying to just get the bottom off is not going to happen. So I think we're going to do a full fix this up, and you can already see it's pretty gross in here. So this might be a good refurbishment, but I'm just going to cut around here, you know, with the X-Acto or whatever, and work around there. I think that's the easy way to do it. So I will do that. I've got the boot completely taken apart, and here are our components. We've got the upper, just I guess suede, and then just a sort of cheap liner for the heel, a little bit of foam in there. Then we've got this sort of fiberboard. It's pretty much just this, the inner there, and then the crepe sole, and that's it. Very simple. So the upper is stitched to this first, through that liner, and then through the first layer of crepe, and then another layer is glued on, so you can't see the stitching from the bottom. I'm gonna try to just sand off and any of the liner material on that's kind of still stuck onto the suede upper there. And I gotta say, even though I work with leather every day, I'm not a cobbler by any means, and I don't have any of the good cobbling, you know, machinery and equipment. So I've just got my belt sander set up here, and it's going the wrong way. So all the material is just gonna come up and hit me, whereas opposed to on like a cobbler's sander or whatever you call it, the belt is running down, so it makes dust extraction a little bit easier. I'm gonna just draw an outline of the sole of this other shoe before I take it off, so that I can have something to trace a pattern for the new soles of the shoes. And I've got some pretty heavyweight, I think 10, 11 ounce Hermano, just natural vegetable tan leather, sitting around. So I'm gonna use that for the new sole. So you can see I've cut it out here in the rough shape. I've sanded the edges so that it'll get a good adhesion to the upper. I've got it glued on as best as I can here, and I'm going to be hand stitching this. So I want to make sure I can hit all of the holes from the stitching from before on there. So I'm just going to go around with my awl and just hand punch every single hole. And I'm going to be saddle stitching this first piece of leather to the upper here. And this is just, I guess it's called a stitch down construction. So that upper is just kind of folded over on the bottom, and it's stitched directly to, in this case, the footbed and the first piece of the sole there. So this isn't usually how it's done. Usually you would stitch this with a specialized machine, but I don't have that. So I am going to do this the old-fashioned way by hand. It's going to take a little bit longer than if I had a machine, but it's going to hold up pretty well over the long term. That took a little bit of time, but it wasn't too hard, and I got the whole upper stitched down to the first layer of leather. I'm gonna take this opportunity to trim this layer of leather back a little bit. I think that'll make it easier to attach the other layers and get them all trimmed and sanded. We'll see how that goes though, because I'm not exactly sure. The proper order to do all of this, and I don't have the best sanding setup, so I want to make it as easy on me as I can. I'm using barge contact cement here, and I've got the next layer of leather and the bottom layer glued up. It's tacky to the touch, and I'm ready to attach these two layers together. And I've got them rough side to rough side, so they should stick nicely. Now, another thing I don't have is like a cobbler's anvil. So I'm just sticking these on as best as I can and trying to make sure they are sufficiently stuck without being able to hammer them as thoroughly as I'd like. So now I've got all my dust extraction hooked up here because I'm going to be doing a lot of sanding. I've got the 4-inch hose just right there where all the dust is being made, and I've also got my shop vac hooked up to the port on the sander itself, which doesn't do too much, but it's better than nothing, I think. One of the, I think, bigger issues with desert boots is that they have a heel on the back, but there's no shank or support internally. So your foot kind of sinks into that gap where the heel meets the rest of the sole there. So to fix this problem, I'm gonna make these into wedge soles. And I need to cut out the wedge part here, which I'm going to sand down flush or to make it smooth with the rest of the sole. So that should give a little bit more lift in the back, but keep continuous support throughout the whole foot, maybe. And once that glue gets nice and tacky, I can apply the next layer there. And as I'm watching this video a few weeks after actually doing this, man, I wish I had that cobbler's anvil. I feel like it would make doing all of this so much easier. So I guess I got to keep an eye out for one of those and get that for the next one. And this is definitely the most time-consuming part of this, is sanding down that layer, the wedge layer, to be even with the entire sole. So I've got to try to maintain the flatness of the whole thing, but get an even transition from where it kind of goes from the extra layer down just to the 2 layers there. I got these all sanded up, and I think this is as far as I'm going to take it, rather than stacking another piece of leather back there. It took a long time, and I'm not sure that it needs more lift in the back. That looks pretty good. And what I'm going to do is, pretty much the last step is, I got these just rubber outsoles just off of Amazon, pretty much the cheapest ones they had, and glue these on, sand them up, trim them up, or trim them and then sand them, and I think that's it. So hopefully that color, I guess that looks okay. It's either white or black or this, and I think that might be the best option for the natural leather there. But we'll see how it looks. Let me get those glued on. So I think that looks pretty good. Can see a little mark there where I touched it with the sander, but hopefully that'll blend in with the rest of the shoe later. I want to burnish the edges of the leather, and I'll just do my kind of standard burnishing procedure here. I'll wet them up a little bit to start with. And I'm just now thinking of this. I should just pop some shoe trees in here. I think it's going to make everything so much easier, and I wish I had thought of that before. I guess I'll do that on the next one. I'm using some of this burnishing compound to help slick the edges a little bit, and then I'll just come back with the burnisher and slick them up even better. I burned the edges of the leather a little bit when I was sanding, but I don't think that's too big a deal. They'll probably darken up a little bit, even though I'm leaving them natural, but I think that's a good look with the color profile of these boots. And now that I've got them nice and burnished smooth, I'm just going to seal those edges up with a little bit of acrylic finish to make sure they don't roughen up too much as with use. I thought it might be an interesting idea to add a third hole for the laces here, so I removed the old grommets and am installing some new ones. This is what I've got, just these brass grommets here. It's not exactly the same type of grommet you would normally use on a shoe, but it's what I've got, and I think they look pretty decent, and they're nice solid brass hardware. So that's pretty much it. I just got to lace them up, and then we'll check out how they look, but more importantly, how they actually feel. I've been wearing them just a little bit, and so far they're noticeably more comfortable with the leather soles. Got a lot more support. It's a firmer, more, I guess, cushion, not quite cushioned, but just a firmer, more comfortable feel. So very happy with the results, and I'm looking forward to breaking them in a little bit once it gets a little warmer outside.